Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. It's second Christmas Day for me. Some people don't have a second Christmas Day. So, if you don't have a Christmas Day anymore, I'm very sorry. I forgot to put a Merry Christmas video up. But I do wish you a Happy New Year already, even though that's like a couple days from now. In today's video, I want to talk about some of the things I do when I protect a server. And I'm making these videos not as a tutorial, but more as a log as to the things I've learned. Because I wish I could make a tutorial. Ideally, I would make a tutorial of like, hey, let's make a file uploading service from scratch. And then I'll show everything, including the code and like uploading it to the server. But to be fair with you, I've never really published anything to a server. I mean, I have done like managed hosting, uploading the PHP files. I have done WordPress development. I've done Shopify. I've done all of these things, but I've never really had a VPS and then went in there and then configured something for Blazor, right? Which is, by the way, ironically enough, my favorite environment to work with. So anyway, the reason I have a VPS, by the way, is very simple. Is you have like two options from what I read to do continuous integration and development, and I'm going to try to avoid using these words because they mean very specific things. But what I'm talking about is, sorry, I have a bit of a cold. What I'm talking about is you have to find a way, take your project, make a change, build it, publish it, deploy it on a server, and the server has to reload the application. Now you can use a VPS for that, which is basically you doing it yourself, or you can use Azure, or you have, I think, something like Railway and all these services that do it for you. But I don't know if that's for Blazor or if that's just for Node and all of this. But so you have all these third-party services. But yeah, you might understand the problem here. And it's not just like a small amount we're talking here. We're talking about to get a basic server going. If you use the non-free tier, because people keep telling me, yeah, but like Azure, it's free, man. You can use it for free. It's like all these free services bait you into paying. Eventually, you're gonna get this weird limit that you're gonna have to start paying, and once you start paying, it's the difference between $40 a month. I'm not kidding you, $40 on average. And what is the other one for my VPS? I'm paying right now for a dedicated virtual CPU, $12. And the question is, do you value your time at $28? Now, I don't value my time at $28. So I'm like, I'm going to pay the $12. I'm going to get excited. I'm going to learn some things along the way. And I don't have to pay for anything except for the VPS. Now, I could have gotten this working for something as low as $5. But because I want to have a decent start for the virtual server, I bought the $12 one. And we'll see what the specifications of it are, if I'm allowed to log in here, because it was pretty okay actually. Let's see, we're gonna log into the console here, go to the servers. So I have two vCPUs. I have 8 gigabytes of RAM. I have 80 gigabytes of storage, and storage is very cheap to buy these days, by the way. And then plus a 50 gigabyte volume. I don't know. I only noticed that just now. That's a little overkill. And so far, within 1 day of hosting, I've only paid 37 cents. Now, why else would I buy a virtual private server and not these? Because in theory, you can pay what you use with these things. And also, I have it with this one too. But like, in theory, you pay what you use. But in practical reality, if you mess something up along the way and you overuse, you're going to be charged for every excess amount. And I don't like unknown costs. So, but Azure, you do pay for it and you get a lot of tooling. Like, you just get a lot of things done for you from the get-go. You have all these features. It's all great, but like the question is, do you really need it? Do you understand it? Do you have time for it? Well, whatever. So no, I went with the VPS. Great. So let's remove all of this. because I'm now going to talk about setting up a VPS for continuous integration or for this continuous publishing. And first and foremost, when I set up a server on Hetzner, I did the following. When I set up a server on Hetzner, you can configure a firewall that it like is in front of your server before it even reaches the server. So like nothing is reaching it unless you set up the rules. And what I did is I only allow port 80, 443, and 22, which all sounds like magic numbers, but this one is for websites, this one is for websites but it's HTTPS, and this one is for SSH, which is a way to talk to the server from my house. In theory, you can even block the 81, but that depends on what type of audience you're expecting to use your website, because if you have people who write HTTP example.com, it's going to try to make a connection to port 80, which is not going to do, and it's going to make it look like your website is offline. So that's something you can think of. All right. Now, when this traffic is through, I have a second firewall, which is from the server itself. So it's actually kind of inside the server, but it's from the server itself. And it just repeats the same things that this baby does. Now, one thing to mention is that the bash, it blocks every traffic except my IP. But the one thing I didn't do on the server is I just allow every traffic from 22. The reason why is because if my IP ever changes without me knowing, and so hypothetically I did not have access to this outer control, because in Hetzner you have like a console application, so you can still access your server. You're not going to be able to reach your server anymore, and you're cooked. So I would advise to block every IP except your own on the server, only if you can guarantee that your IP never changes. Now, the good thing is I did it on Hetzner, so I can log into Hetzner and still just change my IP whenever I want, so it's no biggie. Great. So you have UFW on your server, which is like a firewall, and it does the same rules as these ones, except with the exception of the SSH. Now, when SSH actually gets through, when you can actually make a meaningful connection, there is a couple of rules. You have rate limiting, which means you can't just spam password combinations, but then also you have disabled password logging in to begin with. Like as soon as I went into the server, I made sure you cannot log in with a password and a username because it's very insecure. Instead, I allowed SSH keys, which are until they figure out optical computing, because I think quantum computing is a meme, but like until they figure out optical computing, these are not crackable really, unless, and we'll get there after, hopefully I don't forget, I'm going to write it down here, SSH key. So you need the key, you can't really break it. And then what I also did is disable root login. I logged in as root initially, and I made up my own little dummy account, and then I put that as a pseudo owner or like an admin owner or whatever you call that. And then I disabled root login. Now I can still access root within my own account, but I cannot log in as root, which is also good because root is just this attack surface vector, whatever you call that. A lot of people trying to get into as root accounts, so you disable the root account so they can't do it. Okay, so then there's a bunch of other features you can enable or disable. I don't really know what all of it was. You have something like TCP redirect inside of the SSH configuration. God knows what all of it is for. I just kind of used the practical advice that people told me, and I hope they didn't scam me, and that's really it. And then I enabled automatic updates for securities. And then I installed Nginx. And then when I installed Nginx, I made sure that, I was going to make sure that you can't talk to it through HTTP. But you would need to connect a domain to the server, and I don't want to do that yet. I don't know why. I'm just hesitant about it. And then I'll use Let's Encrypt to get the actual handshaking, the trusted certificate author and all that. One of the things I still don't know, by the way, is how to get emails to work. Because what they're trying to get me to do is to pay for a service so I can send emails, because otherwise they end up in the spam box. Because there's people out there who have ruined everything for us, and every time we now try to send an email with our own IP or with our VPS IP, it's logged as spam, because everybody is just scamming everybody with spam emails. I read that you can get it set up. You can get your IP whitelisted, but you're going to basically have to pay people to send hundreds of emails to all these organizations to trust your IP address. And this is how they bait you into paying for something like SendMail. I mean, currently I'm paying for Titan Mail, I think, which is something to send emails with. So maybe I can keep using that, but it's so expensive. It's ridiculous. You're paying $10 a month to basically use your own domain name as a way to transfer emails. Now, I think maybe Proton is going to fix that in the future. Maybe Proton will allow me to get a trusted email provider. I don't know. And then I have everything in one place. Great. So we've talked a bit about securing the server. There's probably other things that you have to do, and I would love to hear from you guys what type of things you need to do to configure. And I'm using Debian, by the way, to secure a Debian server, because I'm not a server manager, but I'm just trying to do the best practices. Right. Now here's the next part. From security point of view, I have this server, right, and it's hosting like the website now. So it's hosting the website list. Wait, I'm gonna show you guys if I don't accidentally leak my own IP here. I'm pretty sure my IP is not in this list. Oh, the IP of the the IP of the servers there though. Okay, great. But anyway, here's the list of the people that tried to connect to it since the last video, and so here's where the website's hosted. But the problem is, I don't want people to connect directly to the IP of the server, right? What I want to happen is, I want users to connect to this external load balancer or front-facing server, and this one redirects traffic internally. And the reason why is because also I want to set up this internal network where here's going to be the SQL server, and they can connect and talk to each other internally, but nobody externally can reach this server. So that's something I still have to figure out. I think the problem though is that this might be a bit more difficult to set up. I don't know if you need to build a whole new server for this, if I need to buy a whole new server. I know for the SQL one, obviously you do, and maybe a little storage box with like the files in it, like this, and they can communicate with each other back and forth, or maybe the SQL should not be talking to the file storage, or maybe only the SQL should be talking to the file storage. There's a lot of opinions on this, but for simplicity, let's just do it like this for now. So we have an HTTP server here. We have a separate one for files and a separate one for SQL. So this allows us to separate the concerns, maybe rebuild the SQL server if it fails, or rebuild the file server if it fails, or rebuild the HTML server if it fails. And this to me seems like the most basic setup to get everything to work smoothly. Now, I have 8 more minutes before I have to go to work, so let me make this quick. I have 8 more minutes. And I'm stuck in my head wondering if I can change the IP of my server now, because I accidentally leaked it like a dum-dum. Okay, so the last part of the video, continuous deployment, because let's skip all the security, right? We have a tiny box and it has Nginx on it, and it's kind of secure, a little bit secure. Now what I have to do, if I take up this, let's see. Now what I have to do is go to Bitbucket, which is my preferred way of storing code. And by the way, there's a whole story about that too. You can set up your own code hosting, platform, kind of like GitHub. I think it's GitLab or something. I don't know. I can't find the paper. This is problematic. Okay, I think this is it. Come on. Come on. Give me the... Okay, I'm gonna have to do this from memory, which is which is not the best. I don't have the best memory. But anyway, you have something called pipelines and Bitbucket, which it's called pipelines. And what pipelines allows you to do is the same as you can do in GitHub. Is I can't write, but what pipelines allows you to do is to set up controls, tests, and all of these things. So when you're like cozily on your computer here. All right, this is your computer, this is your keyboard, this is your mouse, and they're like connected to your Mac or whatever this is. When you push a an update to, let's say, to your main branch, okay, now people are all they're gonna grab their guns because you're not supposed to push something directly to main branch, but that's what I'm gonna do. Try to stop me. When you push it to main branch, you trigger something, right? You trigger like an event or an action in GitHub now, and apparently in Bitbucket you can trigger a pipeline or whatever, and this thing can build your code, right? It's gonna beep boop, and then if the code works or not, it's going to be like success. You're gonna get like a little check mark, and then what it can do, and this is why you needed the SSH, by the way, it can use SSH to dial into your server to execute the code necessary to publish your app. So instead of you remembering, oh, I published new code, I have to test the code if it works, I have to compile it, I have to SSH into the Nginx, this is done automatically, you don't have to worry about it, and you have finally set up your continuous integration. Now, doing all of this, if you know what you're doing, will cost you less than 2 hours to set up. But if you're me and you've never done the pipelines things before and you never use GitHub because you're basically just using the version 1.zip strategy and the version 2.zip strategy, obviously you've never have any experience with this. So this part right here probably requires security concerns too. From what I know is you need to set up a secondary account for your pipeline, for your user. I don't know if I can have it use an SSH key. I mean, I'm gonna need it to. I'm kind of gonna need it to respect the fact that I want SSH keys, because otherwise that's going to be very awkward. I don't want to enable password authentication. But I think the rest is kind of okay, because you gotta imagine you're basically setting up a couple scripts, right? If you didn't have the pipelines, you just want to have a bash script that says, wait, all right, clear the whiteboard here. You're basically setting up a script that is like, oh, if we have a new version, right? If we have a new version, that's an N, that's not a V. If we have a new version, and then when we have the new version, okay, we SSH into the server, we disable the running exe file, if you will. This is all very simplified. And then when we disable the running exe file, we copy over the new version, and then we restart the exe file. Obviously, it's a bit more complicated because in some setups you don't disable the exe, you create basically a shadow copy that runs alongside of it, and then your web server will start routing new traffic to this ghost one, and at some point you will destroy that one. But anyway, in theory, this continuous integration is basically how can we automate deploying our project. And to do that, you need to have a place to deploy your project. I've chosen a VPS. Why? Because, well, costs, and also, for instance, managed software, managed servers, you can't really run Blazor the way, like in the ones where you have like a file manager and all of this and your cPanel. It never allows you to do that. So a VPS, you can do basically anything you want. And then we have Bitbucket just as a place to put our code. You don't even need Bitbucket, guys. You can just write an elaborate script to copy paste your files if you wanted to, but there's some advantages to having a code managing solution that I need to start using as the project grows. Here is the last topic, and then I will really have to go, guys. I'm very sorry for the last long video, but hopefully you have tea ready to be drinking. The SSH key. You need to remember that you have now made your server this fortress, but this tiny thing right here, it's on my computer. And if it's on my computer, it means that my computer is the biggest risk right now. If somebody gets access to my computer, it doesn't matter how I've secured the server. So this thing needs to be protected the way your Bitcoins are protected, your Bitcoin keys are protected, the way you protect your money, the way you protect files you're not allowed to talk about on your computer so that nobody ever sees them. Take good care of it. I think what you can do, I don't know what it's called. I can't even offer you a name for a product, but I knew a guy and he had this device where he could put passwords on and he could put SH keys on, and all he could do is plug it into the computer and it would work the same way Proton password managing works. It would store all of your passwords. But it allows you to plug it out of your computer so that if your computer is hijacked, the actual surface time for it to steal your key is negligible. So think about this, guys. When you're doing this type of stuff, think about getting like a device to put all your passwords on. It's convenient, but also it's very secure, and you don't need to worry if your computer crashes, what happens to your passwords, etc.